What's up guys, good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. Absolute CINEMALEN is the only possible way to describe yesterday's game. What a player, what a striker. I feel like if we learn how to serve him even more, this guy, as Gasperini said in multiple interviews ever since we signed him, will score a lot of goals in this league. He's got this ability of attacking the depth and getting served on through balls that we've missed so much, and he does it so well. It's his main characteristic. He isn't somebody who pulls up a fight, in a sense that he isn't somebody that you can stick long balls on and expect to keep them fight with his physique. No, Malin ain't about that. That's what Dovbyk we tried to do with. That's what Ferguson we tried to do with. But Malin is different. Malin is about depth. Malin is about ability to attack the depth when nobody is marking you. Rapidity, ability, agility. So characteristics that under all effects are better for the way Gasperini wants to play. I'm very happy with him. I'm going to speak about him even more also with a look ahead, because you know me and what I think about these players. I think that these players are great when it comes to these teams, but ultimately, can they repeat these gains when you hire the bar? And seeing that we've got Napoli on Sunday and Juventus coming up in a few weeks, we need to speak about this possibility of looking forward when hiring the bar, which is something that has been our main problem this season. A lot of things to say, a lot of things to mention. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Interact with me and with yourselves. If I don't miss, again, if I miss out a comment, don't worry. There's other people that are going to be reading your opinion. So leave a comment down below if you are watching live or in the live chat. Leave a like. It would be great. It does support the channel a lot, so do all of that good stuff. By the way, I apologize for not going live yesterday after the game. I was severely constipated yesterday. I got back home and I couldn't even speak. I was at the stadium and I don't know what it was. Around the 70th minute, I had a stomach attack that I don't think I've ever had in my life. So yeah, I apologize for that. But we've got a full week now that we aren't playing in Europe. We are playing in Europe, but not until the next round. We've got a lot of time to focus on things. So, I'm going to start off in a non-chronological order, and I'm actually going to start off today with what Gasperini said post-game, and Gasperini's interactions with Malin yesterday whenever he got subbed off, and whenever the full time came by. There was a video of Gasperini hugging Malin and both of them smiling together. And I want to start there. Because that image for me, and I listened on my way back from the stadium, I listened to Gasperini's interview post-game. And I actually think yesterday I saw the happiest Gasperini since the start of the season. Now, not that Gasperini this season has complained much. No, he's had his moments of frustration. He's never had any issues with players up to now. Very healthy relationship with all. But yesterday, how he spoke post-game and how he interacted with Malin post-game, I've never seen him happier. There's a video that I posted on my Instagram, on Roma Theory, make sure to follow that, where on the way back into the changing rooms after the game, Gasperini kind of descended those stairs into the locker room going like this. Like, he was visibly happy yesterday evening, and this is something that we've been repeating ever since the first few games of the season. It is very complicated for a manager to achieve things when he doesn't have the tools that he would like up front. Because up front is where he bases his football about. You know, his football has always been about scoring a lot of goals. And this season, he needed to adapt in a situation which is the complete opposite of what he's ever done before, which is concede a few goals and score less goals. Normally, him and his teams were all about scoring more goals and maybe conceding more goals. he came into this reality and this dimension, which is a complete opposite dimension. He adapted to it, and he had to survive almost 6 months, a bit less, 5 months, August, September, October, November, and December, with two strikers up front that were about as useful as I don't even know. It is hard. It is very hard. And people will look at the 8 losses. 8 losses is a lot. 8 losses is not something that, eight losses is a lot of defeats this season. We've lost a lot of games this season. If you count all of those big games, we've lost them. But we also equally won as many, which is why we're there, in the position that we're there. Now, people will go, well, we've got 40, I think we've got 46 points at time of speaking. Juventus lost less games than us. Milan lost way less games than us. Lazio have got less defeats than us. That's not the way you look at football. You look at football by the league table. Now, how many games you win, how many games you lose, how many games you draw is equally as important if you've got the same points, total points, as anyone else. Okay? So, and I still stick with what I said. I think you're not the top 4 best teams in Italy, and this is something that people, even with Malin, you're not top 4 teams in Italy. So the fact that we're there in February, and it's going to be a war, game after game after game, a situation that will change game after game. For me, this manager deserves all the credit possible, and I say this every time because I don't want people to forget what this manager had to play with up front for 5 months this season, for basically half the season. So when I see Gasperini yesterday hugging Malin and going like, brother, you've saved my life. Like, I cannot express how happy I was at seeing Gasperini hugging and smiling Malin, and both of them like smiling and having a laugh together. Like it is the image of the night. A manager that has found his gem and will not get rid of this gem by any means. So I was very positive. I was very happy seeing Gasperini as a whole yesterday. But going back to the game, why not? Let's start with Malin. Look, I think that the first goal that Malin scores is a goal that the last striker that we had that I've seen do those certain things was Dzeko. Now, I'm not comparing the two on how they play and their overall game because they are completely opposite. Dzeko is about stopping the ball, turning around, making the team go up, shoulder against shoulder, fighting. Malin is the opposite, as I've said at the beginning. Malin is like, they compared him to Vialli in the interview yesterday. Again, these comparisons I don't like, but characteristics-wise, he's completely different. He's smaller, he's more agile, he's faster, and he loves that movement into the box, that cutting through by, breaking that pressing line into the defenses and penetrating the defenses. If you learn how to serve him even better, this guy will score a lot of goals in this league, because this league isn't used to these strikers. This league is a league where 80% of strikers belong to the Dzeko category, in a sense that 80% of strikers in this league are strikers that base their game on physique. 20% of them base their game on agility. And when you find a striker who's good with his feet like Malin, in that 20% category, you've got a rare event. And if you manage to treat that rare event properly, he's going to explode and score a lot of goals in this league. Because defenses are more prepared to defend against that 80% characteristic type striker. And with this, I still need to understand why Aston Villa let him go. I do not understand why on earth Aston Villa managed to let him go on a loan. It's a loan with option to buy, of course, obligation, I think. But still, it's a loan. Why did they let him go? I don't understand. But way better for us. What I was saying at the beginning is very good. Incredible first goal in front of Totti. That's a Totti goal in front of Totti. By the way, Totti at the stadium again yesterday. I think it's very close. The deal is very close in becoming reality. I think we're very close in seeing Totti back at the club, because he was back at the stadium yesterday and he got a standing ovation. He got up, and he talked with Ranieri. I think it's imminent. I think his presence at the stadium again yesterday, it shows us that Totti coming back is imminent. It's gonna happen very soon. Very happy. That's a Totti goal in front of Totti. He said it in the interview himself. The second goal again is a tap in, but it's a movement tap in. Like, it's him not finding himself casually in front of the goal and scoring, but he follows Celik's movement into the box and then scores. While I feel like with Dovbyk, he scored tap-ins and he was very good at them, but it was never Dovbyk following the movement and making himself available for tap-ins. It was rather the ball, finding himself in front of the ball casually and then shooting. Again, I'm not a fan of Dovbyk. I've said this and I've repeated this a lot this season. I don't want to send Dovbyk down the pub again because he's already injured. But I feel like Malin's tap-ins are more wanted than Dovbyk's ones. That's the way I would say it. As always, with these strikers, I must say, we need him, and we need him to play like this in big games as well. Because it's very important to get points and pull these performances against these teams. Absolutely, it's very important. But then we need something in big games as well. And it's this step that we're missing in order to win big games, to start winning big games. I think it's this step that we're missing. So I'm very curious to see what happens on Sunday. We're playing in Naples. Can he have such an impact in games with better defenses, in games with more calibrated players, with more calibrated tactics, with similar objectives, if not higher objectives than yourself? So that is a question that remains in me. Time will tell, only time will tell, but we'll see. Apart from that, I've been very surprised with Malin. I did not think that he was going to have such an instant impact, but the players are responding very positively and on him, so hopefully he can keep it going. My other man of the match is Pizili. After Malin, who needs to be man of the match because he scores a double, and without Malin yesterday, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have won, because who scored? Who would have scored yesterday if it wasn't for Malin? So I think without Malin, yesterday's game could have easily ended 0-0. Maybe we could have nicked the goal, yes, but yesterday you dominated for 80 minutes. Cagliari did nothing, maybe just in the last 10 minutes when they hit that crossbar. But it's Malin that made you win yesterday's game, because no player in this team would have scored that first goal that he scored. And no player, if you don't have Ferguson, Dovbyk or Malin, would have followed that tap-in like he did on Celik. So I would not be surprised if yesterday's game without Malin would have ended 0-0. So, but my second man of the match is Pizili. And I do want to focus a bit on Pizili, because I think Pizili has grown so much, and people will go, well, it's Cagliari. And I disagree. Because when you're a young player, growth comes from these games as well. And in response to this, I go, it's not just Cagliari, because he played an even better game with a brace against Stuttgart, which are top 4 teams in the Bundesliga. So Pizili has grown, and it's not an opinion, it's a fact. Maybe it's not that Pizili has grown, but the grape has become more ready. It's the grape is less bitter. It's less, what do you call it? Ripe. It's becoming more mature. In a few months, hopefully, it will be ready to it will be ready for it to get picked from its tree, from the vine, sorry, and eat it. But it's becoming less ripe game after game after game. And that's the scenario with Pizili. I think he's maturing. He's maturing. And I admire him for one thing. He's been very patient. He hasn't had much game time this season, apart from the last few games, which also come as a result of an emergency because Kone is injured. But lately he's been playing very well. And yesterday, not only he was everywhere on the pitch, so incredible stamina from him. Not only did he last 90 minutes with this stamina, but he distributed a lot of balls yesterday, like passing the ball, making that ball around, bringing the ball from one side to the other. I've liked him a lot yesterday, and I've liked him a lot in this last few months. In this last month, I think he's shown a lot of signs of development. Do I think Pizili starts? Look, whether you like it or not, I don't think Cristante is getting benched. Now, I think again, I would like to see new things with Cristante. I always say, because there's always like the dilemma with the three Italians, Pellegrini, Cristante, and Mancini. My stance on these three players is very clear. Pellegrini needs to go. Cristante, for me, needs to get relegated into a secondary player. And Mancini needs to stay. And Mancini, for me, deserves the captain armband, if you want to put it on flames. So my stance on the three Italian players, because they're very debated after every game, is this. It's very clear. One needs to go. One needs to be relegated. And the other one, the hate on the other one is so forced. Again, Mancini is so unnecessarily hated that no one will look at the pass that he gave to Malin. Like nobody looks at the pass that Mancini infiltrates into Malin because it's Mancini. He's a centre back. He's a bitch. But if that was Dybala, everyone will go, oh, look at the pass that Dybala gave to Malin. So nobody will ever change my opinion on Mancini, and I will even trigger it. Mancini is the captain armband. The other two, I've made it very clear. But I still think that Cristante starts for Gasperini. And he's made it very clear that Cristante still starts. So it's hard for players like Pizili and El-Ainaoui to calibrate themselves in a dimension where Cristante always starts. And it's not like Cristante starts because Kone is injured. Cristante starts even with Kone not injured. So it's not easy for a player like Pizili in this case, but like El-Ainaoui as well, to impose themselves when the manager is so fixed on Cristante. Like, for me, in order for Gasperini to bench Cristante, I would kind of define it as a miracle. Like, there's something weird needs to happen because Gasperini trusts Cristante, and whether you like it or not, it's a fact because he's starting in every single game. When maybe players like Pizili or players like El-Ainaoui may want it and may deserve it a bit more than him, Cristante always inevitably starts. So it's hard for these players to impose themselves. Opinions on Zaragoza. My opinion on Zaragoza is I'm mixed on two things. Again, I've never seen him before, and I'm basing my judgment on having seen him live at the stadium for 20 minutes. So not a lot to build a judgment. But my initial take on Zaragoza is this. Very good characteristics in a sense that he's the only player in this team that does that. I've seen him do what I've seen him do in 20 minutes yesterday. I've never seen anybody do in this team in 6 months. Dribbling, taking one-on-ones. He's fast, he's agile, you can see it. You can see that he wants that dribble. Like you can see that he's somebody that does what excites. Dribble, tries a little show effect. And I like that because I've been saying it and repeating it. Unpredictability is what we need in this team as a base. On the contrary, I will say he's extremely small. Like, he is extremely small. And just like I crucified Baldanzi multiple times for his size, I'm not gonna crucify him yet, but he's got his size, it plays against him. This is a very physical league. This is a very, 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 very physical league. There aren't a lot of tiny players like him that I remember being incredible players in this league. When you're that small, when you're that short, you're either world class or it's very, 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 very hard for you to emerge and to break through. Not that he hasn't broken through, because he isn't 17, he is like 23 years old. But it's very hard to, again, impose yourself in this league when you're that short. Like, unless you're world class, and there are a lot of examples of this, unless you're world class, if you're that short, it's very hard. It's very hard. But I want him to start over Pellegrini. I think Pellegrini is useless. Pellegrini is useless. Pellegrini does nothing, man. At least he tries something new. Pellegrini always does the same thing. I swear on God, Pellegrini always does the same thing. So at least he does something that results in unpredictability. That you catch defenses out of surprise. And that's why on Sunday I want him to start. I want him to start, and I want Pellegrini to be benched. Also, speaking about attackers, Soule. Context on Soule, because maybe if you watched the game on TV, you weren't aware of Soule. I was 3 meters from Soule yesterday, and I can confirm that multiple times I saw him smirk with pain. Soule isn't fit. Gasperini told us in the press conference that he is suffering with groin pain. Now, groin pain, too many Latinas, Matty. Too many Latina mamacitas. Only joking. Groin pain is very, very uncomfortable, and it's one of those pains, as somebody was saying in the fan forum yesterday. You either play on it or the season is done. It's the same injury that Lamine Yamal had at the start of the season. You either play on it, or if you get surgery, your season is over. So Soule not playing well lately is because of this. And I've already seen people go, oh, Soule lately has been absolutely terrible. Soule lately has been absolutely... has been ghosting every single game. He is less effective. He's not scoring anymore. I agree. Soule has always had this problem of ghosting in big games. But the context is that he's injured. The context is that he's playing on groin pain. The context is that he isn't fit. So it is very important to understand this, because otherwise you're crucifying a player without knowing why. I think on Sunday he needs to rest. I think on Sunday, Paulo needs to come back in with Malin up front and Zaragoa on the left. Soule needs a few games where he needs to rest. Maybe eliminate that groin pain, even though groin pain is something that you can't eliminate. As I said at the beginning, you either play on it, or if you get surgery, you can get surgery, but you're gonna miss 1/2 months. So maybe even more. And we're almost in March. So that means costing the end of the season. So yeah, I think it's again, the result of this is because he's overplayed this season, because there was never a good option other from and remember, he plays in a position where his option is Dybala, who yes, in a lot of things is better than Soule, but is very injury prone. So he's played a lot this season, and that's why that's exactly why he's suffering from this pain. Defense, very solid yesterday. Indica played great. Gilardi played great, and Mancho played great. The only black shadow from Mancho's game yesterday was that stupid yellow card, but that's the classic Mancini yellow card. that's my prediction on this. Moving forward, look, Napoli on Sunday. I said this in the match preview before the Cagliari game. I'm going to say it now that we've won this game. I still think that you need 4 points between Napoli and Juventus. If you get 4 points between Napoli and Juventus, you're back heavily into the race. Not that you're out of it, as always. Not that you're out of it. I'm not saying that you're out of it, but I always say that you're not top 4 teams in Italy. So for you to get into that top 4, considering that Inter and Milan have booked their ticket, is hard. You need that spark, and that spark for me comes if you get 4 points between Napoli and Juve. I think it's easier to win in Naples. Call me crazy, but I think it's easier to win in Naples than to win at home against Juventus, because Juventus, I think, are playing great football. They did slip up against Lazio. I don't know how they did, honestly. I honestly, no part of me would have predicted such a result. I was convinced that they were going to annihilate Lazio, but football is weird. This is why you need to believe in yourself. This is why, yes, you're not 4 of the best teams in Italy, but you're the 5th and the 6th, and you need to treat every game that remains as a war against yourself and against everyone that you're facing against. What a performance from Pizili. Also, someone finally ran more than Cristante. Speaking about Venturino, yesterday we ended the game with average age in our team was like 17 years old. We ended yesterday's game with Venturino, who's 18 years old, 20 years old. Arena, who is 17 years old today. Then who? Zaragoa, who's like 22 years old. Ghilardi, who's 22 years old. Pizili, who's 20 years old. Again, this is the new Roma project. Rejuvenating and giving value to these players. Hi, Simo from Greece. Hello to you, mate. Shout out to you. I couldn't watch most of it, unfortunately. First impressions on Zaragoza. Hey, Simo, isn't it such a relief having a striker who moves with someone like Paolo? He will cook. Hello from Calgary. Shout out to you. Pizili, future captain, what a player. Zara played well, had some good dribbles, but had 2 opportunities to get. Malin, a hat-trick goal, good but a bit selfish there. It feels like ages since we played successful through balls to the striker. Chilik is still horrible. He was 0-5 accurate crosses. The assists saved him yesterday. Mature, but I like him underaged. What the hell? Am I the only one starting to notice that Cristante's long passing hasn't been as accurate as he used to be? You're definitely not the only one, I agree. Gasp insisting on him because he's good defensively, not great either. I'd like to see him out, to be honest. What a great game from the young boys in general that finally come to bite. Yeah, Ghilardi became a permanent move as well, good point. Your hair is top, do a 360. Okay, I'm going to catch you tomorrow. Full week, we're playing on Sunday. A lot of time to chillax, talk. Big news on Totti coming up. I can feel it. I don't know it. I'm not an insider. I'm just somebody who reacts to this football club. But you can feel it. Totti's return is imminent. And maybe this week we can have a few updates on it. Maybe some official things. Hit the like button. If we can get 200 likes is the challenge. Get it done. Get it done for Malin. Get it done for the channel. No, jokes aside, every single like, every single subscribe button. By the way, look, we're like 10 subscribers away from 17k. Let's hit that. Every like button, every hype points that you leave supports the single video and the algorithm a lot. So please do it. It's free and it takes 2 seconds. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. See you out.